I know I'm not alone when I say I'm getting bored of the Snake Eyes deck, but what if I said there's another fire deck with just as many starters, room for non-engine, and can also build a crazy board? What's up and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over the best fire deck ever. It's Salamangreat. I really mean it. This deck is so much fun to play and it really does have all the consistency in the world and non-engine to combat the meta. Code of Soul really has taken this deck to the next level, so make sure you stick around to the end. That way you guys can see some of the combos this deck can do. But first, if you haven't already, go grab yourself a cup of coffee or something. That way you guys can sit down and tune in. Alright, so today we're talking about the fan favorite Salamangreat. Thanks to Code of Soul, this deck really has so much more that it can do now. Plus, like any fire deck, you get to abuse some of the best extra deck monsters in the game right now. But without wasting any more time hopping into the monsters, the first one I wanted to talk about is one I'm sure you saw in the thumbnail. We're playing 3 copies of Speedroid Terratop. This card by itself is full combo, and the best part of all is it does not use the normal summon. Sometimes Ghost Ogre on your normal summon can be a little awkward when playing through hand traps, so having a starter that really doesn't care about that is so great. This is a 1-card Mirage Stalio. Obviously, we have to play the brick alongside it, the Takatom Borg. This is the only brick in the deck, though. When you compare it to pure Snake Eyes, who are playing 2 Flamberge and a Snake Eyes Diabellstar, it's very nice that this is really the only card you don't want to draw on your deck. Another 1-card starter that we're playing is 3 copies of Salamangreat of Fire. No, I'm not playing Lady Debug with the Wicked combo. I think it's pretty cool, but I don't think this deck needs that. The downside is this card does lock you into fires, but if I'm completely honest, this is not relevant in this deck. Of course, it's not a Salamangreat without Gazelle. Of course, we're going to be playing 3, and again, by itself is another 1-card combo. This deck is full of them, but the best part is it also acts like an extender as well. Most of the time, you're going to be dumping something like Spinny, which I'm only opting to run 2 copies of. I'm really trying to streamline this engine, but if you already have access to the Spinny, then of course, another option to dump is the Jack Jaguar. This card can help you recycle your extra deck monsters because we do burn through them quite quickly, but overall, it is a pretty good extender. But then for the next Salamangreat, it's the Weasel. This card's actually more important than ever now. The card's a great extender, and there's so many cool plays you can do with it while it's in the grave, but this card is a level 3 tuner, which sets up our synchro plays as well, which is super important for our combo. We'll talk about that later in the combo portion, but the last Salamangreat I'm playing is a Mirror. Of all the extenders in the archetype, I just felt like this was the easiest one to summon. You can discard a Salamangreat card to summon it to the field, and this card acts just like Poplar. Whenever it's added to hand, you could summon it to the field for free. There was another extender I was considering, but we are going to talk about that later. But of course, we've talked about it already. The last monster in the deck, Code of Soul. In case you don't know what this does, if you control a Link monster, you can special summon it from your hand for free. This already makes for a pretty decent extender, but it has an on-field effect as well. During the main phase, you can activate its effect, and then anytime during the turn, you can Link summon into one of your Salamangreat Link monsters using one of the same name as the entire material. But also, it has a graveyard effect during your opponent's turn. During your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect banish this from the graveyard, and then immediately after that, you can Link summon into any Link 3 or higher Cyburst monster. This is an interruption for the deck because now we can abuse one of the cards we've never been able to play. It's Pyro Phoenix. The card is literally a board wipe, and it's so insane that this deck can do that now. And now hopping into some of the supporting spells and traps. Obviously, we're playing 3 copies of Signet Mining alongside 3 copies of Salamangreat Circle. Obviously, we're going to be playing the Sanctuary alongside 1 copy of Will the Salamangreat. This card alone enables some of the craziest 1-card combos this deck can do, and we'll talk about that. So again, make sure you stick around to the end. And I guess the last Salamangreat card, might as well show it now. It's the Roar. I don't play Rage. You could definitely side it, but for me, when playing into a board, I really don't want to have trap cards in my hand. But that's basically it for engine. And again, one of the beautiful things about this deck is we have so much room for non-engine. First and foremost, I'm taking another play out of the Snake Eyes book. I'm playing 3 copies of Crossout Designator. Unfortunately, you're not playing Snake Eye cards, so it's not as strong in the Snake Eyes matchup. But the fact that we play so much non-engine, this card usually has a target for every deck in the format. It also protects you from Nibiru, but we'll talk about that in a sec. I'm also opting to run 1 copy of Talents. This card 100% is a flex slot. I think 1's decent because again, it pairs as a cross-out target, but this deck also has a fair amount of ways to push through hand traps. So once your opponent hits you with 1, you can always look at their hand and check for another, very similar to what the Snake Eye deck does now. But after that, we're playing a bunch of hand traps. First is 3 copies of Imperm, 3 copies of Valor, 3 copies of Ash, which not only is recyclable with Sunlight Wolf, but in the Branded and Labyrinth matchup, there's also combos that you can summon this to the field and then bounce it back to hand, essentially searching it. I talked about it earlier. I'm also running Nibiru. I don't play 3 because I really don't like this card against something like the Tenpai matchup. The only reason I am playing multiples is because I want to make sure there's one in the deck for Crossout Designator, because while this deck can push through Nibiru, if you open Crossout, it just means you can be super aggressive with your first turn combo. But then after that, I just play 2 more hand traps, 1 Ghost Mourner and 1 Ghost Ogre. Again, Crossout targets, but they're just generically good in the format. If anything, I actually think I would like to have a second Ghost Ogre. I've actually fallen in love with that card this format, but that's 17 non-engine slots. Just like the other fire decks, this deck is so consistent and can compete with the best decks in the meta. And now we're gonna hop into the extra deck, but first I wanted to showcase these amazing double sleeves. You already know I'm a big Dragon Shield fan, but one of my favorite products are these Japanese size matte clear outer sleeves. They have all this and more on their site, and the link is down below. And with all this drama revolving around solid color sleeves, the clear mattes are perfect for any sleeve that you want to use. Plus, if you do decide to buy something, make sure you use my code COFFEE5 at checkout. It'll save you 5% off your entire order, plus a portion of that purchase comes back to the channel, and it helps me make content for you. Now, hopping into the extra deck for a couple of the one-ups. First is Horse Prince. This is a new addition to the deck. Like I mentioned, we have the level 3 tuner in the form of Weasel, and whenever you synchro summon this card, you can special summon any level 3 fire from your deck. This is how we get access to Code of Soul, but also how you can search Ash Blossom, like I mentioned earlier. The only downside is when you use this effect, you can't special summon monsters that are level 5 or higher for the rest of the turn. So, yeah. That doesn't matter. But of course, just like the Horse Prince, the other utility card is the Mirage Stalio. Any 2 level 3s to make it, and then summon a salad from your deck by detaching one. But also, we're playing a Hida as a generic Link 2 to help us Link climb. But also, one of my favorite things about this card is when you're playing against Snake Eye, if they have an Ash in the grave, normally bringing back Snake Eye's Ash really wouldn't accomplish anything, but if you wanted to, you could always side deck cards like Mole or the Kurikara. Mole is the other extender I would consider playing in the main deck, which, in case you didn't know, if you ever Link summon during the turn, you could summon this to the field to a zone a Link monster points to, so again, another free body to the field. It also has the ability to recycle some of your Salamangreat cards and then draw 2, essentially a Pot of Avarice, so that's pretty good. But I do really think it's hilarious in the Snake Eyes matchup where when you take their Ash, you search a Kurikara, and now you have a board breaker that you got for free while playing into their board. But another Link 2 that I'm playing is Nightmare Phoenix. Great generic removal for the deck. Again, there's no conflictions because it's a fire, but also you can make it with Tear Top when going second, so if you need to hit a back row before using your normal summon, that's always an option. The last one of I'm playing is the Ambler Whale, and I will showcase in the combo why I am playing this. And I'm not playing anything like the Sprint because obviously you saw I'm not playing the EMO. But again, we'll talk about the Whale later in the combo portion. But then after that, it's a bunch of 2-ofs. First is 2 copies of Balinx. Space is really tight, and as much as I'd love a third, I think this is the bare minimum you need. That goes the same with Wolf. And once again, even though this is a pivotal card for the deck, I just feel like there's so many ways to get access to it later. I'm also opting to run 2 copies of Princess. It's definitely a flex slot, but just like the last profile I did, I'm also playing 2 copies of Raging Phoenix. When you relink into this, you can search a card, which nobody knows about because they're just used to it for the OTKs and Snake Eyes. We definitely abused the heck out of that card, but again, I mentioned it earlier, we now also get to play Pyro Phoenix. The main thing you're using this for is if ever you link summon it while using another Pyro Phoenix as a material, you can destroy every card your opponent controls. With Code of Soul, you're doing this on your opponent's turn, so you can see how crazy a board wipe is. Again, this is every card they control. But that's it for the extra deck. I really like the 2-ofs. It makes it very versatile, and like I said, it's easy to recycle some of these cards. But now for the fun part, let's go over some of the 1-card combos this deck can do. So for the first 1-card combo, it's going to be with Salamangreat of Fire. Again, this also works with Salamangreat Circle or Cyanide Mining, discarding a card. And obviously a hand trap on fire will stop you, especially in this hand that's full of a bunch of hand traps. But with the extenders we play and all the searchers that help us get to them, playing after getting hit with a hand trap usually isn't that big a deal. I will say though, if you do have those searchers or extenders, it's always good to hold them. That way, if you do get hit with something like Nibiru, you'll have those as follow-up to keep playing afterwards. But again, this is just to show you the basic 1-card combo. Of course, we're going to normal summon fire and use the effect to search. We'll pick up Gazelle, obviously, and then immediately after that, we can link this off and go into our Balinx. Balinx hits the field, and we'll go chain link 1 Balinx into Gazelle. Gazelle hits the field, and Balinx will get us a search. We'll add the field spell, and then Gazelle's effect will activate, and here we'll send Spinny. If you already had Spinny, you can send the counter trap, and then the counter trap will reset itself in the combo. But now we can go ahead and bring this back from the grave and immediately go ahead and Exceed Summon. Mirage Stalio hits the field, and we'll activate its effect to summon from deck. Here's where we will get access to our Weasel, and now we have 3 monsters. We can just link them all off and go into our princess. We're going to use the effect, and it doesn't really matter what you bring back. We're just going to link it off right away. We're going to make that Raging Phoenix and then activate the field spell. That way we can link it off and go into the second copy. On summon, now we can grab any Salamangreat card from our deck, and this is where we'll grab the Soul Charge. Once returned, this is a monster reborn, but you can also send itself to the grave and summon as many monsters up to the link rating of a monster that was linked using the same monster as a material. Kind of a mouthful, but essentially we can send this to the grave and we have the link 4, so we can bring back 4 monsters. And then from here, now we have our tuner, so we can go ahead and synchro summon. Now we make our Horse Prince and use its effect, getting us access to our Code of Soul. Here I'll activate the effect to be able to relink into another Salad Link monster, and I do use this effect later in the combo. Now I can take any of these 2 bodies, link it off, go into our Sunlight Wolf, and now that we've link summoned into a Salamangreat monster, we can activate our Weasel effect in the grave. We can special summon one of our salad monsters from our grave to our opponent's field. This will get put on the bottom of the deck, and we will draw 1 more card. But now that a monster was special summoned to our opponent's side of the field, our princess will activate in the grave. We can destroy any of these other bodies, bring her back out to the field, and of course the monster that was summoned gets destroyed in the process. Not only does that get us a free body to link with, but also the Raging Phoenix now activates. It comes back and gains the attack points as well. Now I'll go ahead and perform another link summon. We'll send these to the grave, go into our Pyro Phoenix, and now our Sunlight Wolf will activate and we can recycle a fire. Here I'll add Gazelle for follow-up. You could also add a fire as well. It doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to put to use that Code of Soul effect I used earlier. I'm going to link this off and go into another copy of Salamangreat Wolf. Now we can use its effect, getting us more follow-up for the turn after, adding ourselves the will back to hand. Couple of things you can do, but again, what I personally have been doing is just taking the last of these bodies, go into the Amblo Whale, and there you go. It might not look like much, but this board is actually really cool. In this case, we have 7 cards in hand, so you could always set the will if you really didn't draw any of the other cards you could set face down. We also technically hit an extender along the way, so we probably could have done more with that, but hand aside or setting cards face down, anytime during our opponent's turn, if they special summon a monster, we can bring this princess back and destroy this whale. Now the whale will activate, and we can bring back any link monster, and you're going to want to bring back Wolf to a zone that's pointing up here. After that resolves, you can also bring back a Raging Phoenix, because the more link monsters, the better, because don't forget, if any of these link monsters get destroyed, you can banish this to destroy a card they control. Then, of course, after that, anytime you need it, you can use that Code of Soul effect in the graveyard. You'll banish it from the grave, and then immediately link into another copy of Pyro Phoenix, except for this time we're going to put it where the wolf points. Now both effects activate, and you'll wipe your opponent's entire field while being able to recycle a card with Sunlight Wolf. You can add another starter or an extender, or you can put one of the extra deck cards back as well. That way you have more for the follow-up. It's never a bad idea, really, to put a Raging Phoenix back, and then that way you can re-link into it at the start of your turn to get another search. But again, that's just the 1-card combo. Again, if you open the Spinny or any of the extenders as well, you can get access to the counter trap. Plus, if you open any of these, then really it makes it to where you can get access to this and the counter trap in some way. And again, with the more extenders, the more you can do, but personally, I like to play as conservative as possible, especially with the potential of Nibiru dropping, unless, of course, we have something like Crossout. But now, let's hop into the next 1-card combo. I just want to showcase that Terratop is full combo. Alright, so combo number 2, we just have access to Speedroid Terratop. Again, in this case, we just have a bunch of hand traps, but it is nice that some of them are level 3. If for some reason you summon this to the field and your opponent impermed it, you could always normal summon one of these level 3s and then make Mirage Stalio and go from there. But again, just to show the basics of how this is still full combo, we'll go ahead and special summon itself to the field and grab a search. Obviously, we're going to get the Talk to Tomborg, and since we control a wind, we can special summon it to the field. And it's pretty obvious. We'll overlay these. We'll go into the Mirage Stalio and we'll activate the effect. Here we'll go into Salamangreat of Fire and pick up Gazelle from the deck. And very similar to the last combo, we can link this off into Balinks, and we'll go Chainlink 1 and Chainlink 2. Gazelle hits the field, and we'll grab the field spell. Sanctuary gets added to hand, and then Gazelle will send one from deck to grave. Only this time we can't send Spinny. We gotta send that Weasel. Since we couldn't bring it out off of Mirage Stalio in this case, now we just need to get it in the grave. That way we can use it later. Just like last time, we can link all these off, go into our princess, and then use the effect, bring back any body, and then link this off again. Raging Phoenix hits the field. We throw down the field spell. We'll do a little relink and make another copy. Its effect now will activate. We can grab any card, which will be the will. And just like last time, we can activate it, send it to the grave. You can bring back the 4 bodies. Just know they have to be in defense, so you can't bring back one of the links. But the important part here is we have a level 3 and a tuner, so we can do the synchro summon play. Horse Prince hits the field, and now we can get our Code of Soul. It'll hit the field, and once once again, I'm going to activate the effect to be able to relink later. Then we'll do a little bit of link climbing. We'll send these to the grave, go into the Sunlight Wolf, and then once again, now we can activate that Weasel. We can give our opponent any one of these monsters. This will go to the bottom, and we can draw one card. And then after that resolves, now we can use that Princess, destroy that monster and one of our bodies. Now Raging Phoenix will bring itself back for more link fodder. And just like last time, we can link these off and go into the Pyro Phoenix. Sunlight Wolf will add back follow-up. Again, you can add fire, or in this case, I'm just going to add Gazelle. And we can now perform that relink. We'll send this to the grave, go into the second copy of Sunlight Wolf, use its effect to add a spell or trap from grave back to hand, and there you go, just like last time, 4 bodies, and Bluel hits the field. And again, just like last time, you'll have a draw, follow-up, plus even more follow-up, and 4 other cards in your hand. In this case, it's hand traps, could have been more extenders, but this is just the basic thing that this deck is trying to do. But that's gonna wrap things up for today's video. Thanks again for all the support, I really appreciate it. Salamangreat is by far one of my favorite decks to play, so it's so great to see that this deck can still compete in the meta today. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and here's hoping to see you on the next one. Peace.